Hi, I'm Susan Latai, and I am here with Carrie Beers, co-author of a new book that will be available shortly called Shining a Light on Grief. Welcome, Carrie.
Hi, Susan. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you here and be talking about our book. So can you give a brief description of your chapter called Diana's Dancing in Heaven?
Yes, absolutely. When I decided to write this chapter, I didn't really realize where it was going to go. I thought it was going to be a journey about sisterhood and being a long-term caregiver and the trials and tribulations associated with it. And what I discovered, it was a journey for me. This chapter represents sisterhood. It absolutely does. It represents the overwhelmingness of being a caregiver, the importance of separating caregiver from loved one at times. And as I moved through the story, I started realizing that I never gave up my dream. And that's talked about in the story. And the dream, holding on to your life is just as important as you're trying to save a life of the other person or just help them leave this world in the kindest way possible. And when I started grieving my sister, I thought the grief was going to be different than what it was. Because I felt like I was grieving her all along. And what I realized is it's as raw as anything when you start grieving someone. It doesn't matter whether it was sudden or a long time coming. But something felt off with my sister's grieving. And I realized that I wasn't just grieving her. I was grieving a dream that I lost. And I lost that dream not because of her death. I lost that dream because of the pandemic. My sister passed away in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And that truly affected a lot of lives. It also affected the way we were able to grieve her, those rituals that we had. And so this story is about letting go of preconceived ideas, the bond between sisters. It's okay to live while you're loving someone who's dying, and also recognize the nuances of your grief. And I was equipped to have tools to get through it quick. So I wanted to share some of those with the people who would find value in this story also.
Yes, very powerful story. I enjoyed definitely reading it and being able to share it with the world.
Thank you. It was probably one of the hardest stories I have ever written because I decided not to hold back and to truly show what happened to me.
No, I appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely.
So when I reached out to you, what prompted you to say yes?
Well, my first response was going to be no, because it's such a delicate matter. And I also thought I was going to be writing about a different situation. I thought I was going to be writing about losing a loved one and raising a child who loses a parent. But I was being guided to write about my sister. But the reason I decided to participate with you is probably different than what I've told you before. I talk about this in the story. It's early in my career, I was up for a big promotion. And I realized I almost did not get the promotion because the CEO thought I was a little too emotional over my sister's death. This was my other sister. I have three, and I've lost two of them. My big sister died when she was only 34. I was 30. And I was up for a promotion, and he was telling another person, I don't know if she's ready for this. She can't even stop crying. And the person's like, she just lost her sister 6 months ago. So what it reminded me of, I'm in human resources and I worked in corporate America working with a lot of different people and employees and personalities. And a lot of people think of grief as a weakness and they don't see it as a process. And I saw that in organization after organization after organization. And it wasn't just the leaders, it was employees. They're like, oh, I can't believe. Like if they haven't lost somebody or if they did lose someone, there was no difference. And so I wanted to participate because each one of us have a different story, but more importantly, everyone grieves differently.
Right.
And so I wanted to give hope to someone who felt like I'm all alone. And I wanted to bring alongside to some of the people who don't understand grief And I don't think this book is just about someone who's going through grief. I think it's about somebody having empathy for people who are going through grief.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to be a part of it.
Yes, and all very important points there that, especially that we all grieve differently because we're so unique and our relationships are so unique. So yes, and I love that you said yes.
Thank you. And you brought up the unique point, and I can't stress that enough. Like, even as I was going through the grief of my sister, it was feeling a little bit like some of the other grief that I went through, but it was nothing like any of the other grief that I went through. But that little bit of similarity that I kept trying to hold on to helped me discover what my other grief was, grieving that dream, that life I left behind when we closed the doors because of the pandemic. So I think that's important to recognize that sometimes you might be grieving more than one thing.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
So we have to keep that in mind as we move forward too.
Yes, yes. And so what would you like to share about yourself and the work you're doing in the world and how you're helping people?
Thank you. So I read the book Think and Grow Rich when I was 19. And I also went through Dale Carnegie's leadership program, everything real early. So early on in life, I had this obsession on human behavior, human potential, personal and professional growth. And when I started seeing some of the things like I talked about, why I wanted to do this book, I decided to start a business 20 years ago. And it was to help leaders change their thinking and to help companies develop culture that embraced employees and not treated them like a commodity. I love that people are saying we have to put people back in the equation. I've always put people in the equation, and I've been doing this for 40 years. So what I'd like people to know is that, I come from a place of research, when not only when I wrote my story, but in the body of work that I do. And I do personal and professional development. And if anybody wants to reach out, please do. They can reach me through LinkedIn. All of my work is not about changing corporate America. I think it's important that we all unleash our infinite potential. And that's a lot of what I do. And I hope this book helps people start seeing their potential as they read it.
Yes, I hope it definitely brings hope and inspiration to everyone who's able to read it. Well, thank you, Carrie. I'm so excited that we got a chance to do this today. And I can't wait to see what this book is going to do.
I can't wait either. Working with everybody, such a lovely group of people we had. And Susan, just what you brought. And I'm so happy that you wanted to birth this and bring it to the world. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. I could not have had a better group of authors for this project.
I agree. As hard as it was, we had some fun too.
Oh, we definitely had some fun. All right. Well, thank you again. And I'll be talking to you soon.